Now, creatively, 1987, I'd say, isn't quite as good as Slide It In, but on a commercial sense, it fucking goes through the roof.
The reasons 1987 broke are manifold. One, he had the time to do an album properly, i.e. David Coverdale. It's effectively a Coverdale solo album to some extent. Two, he had a guitarist in there who was coming into his own, John Sykes, who'd always threatened to be a guitar hero, just needed the right location to do it, and did it. Three, he put together a great live band who looked fantastic.
Coverdale put a band together that visually was perfect for MTV. MTV was defining the way kind of heavy rock bands looked at that time. And Coverdale realised that if he was going to carry on in this kind of market, he had to take it on their terms.
A lot of it is very good. It's not a classic album, but you know, Still of the Night is a brilliant song, even if it is a total pastiche of Led Zeppelin.
We were sort of under instructions to be the Led Zeppelin for the 1980s because there was this huge gap in the market. It's very fair comment. The riff is very like Black Dog.
I just want to get close to you and taste your love so sweet. And I just want to make love to you, feel your body in the still of the night.
Although the incentive to join Whitesnake basically was my desire to be out on the road. You know, now remember, I'm American, and I really didn't know what Whitesnake was all about until the '87 album. You know, I mean, I knew of David Coverdale. You know, I knew of the way he sang, but I had no idea he sang the way he did until I got next to him.
Steve Vai was the hottest guitarist on the planet. And I think Coverdale just thought, I want to work with this guy because it's going to really step me up. It proves I can get anybody I want.
He'd previously played with Dave Lee Roth, and his sound suited the way that Dave Lee Roth made music. It was the right thing for Roth to do at the time. In Whitesnake, it was never a comfortable fit. I mean, he was a showman, very histrionic guitar playing style, but it was all flash over substance.
I mean, Steve Vai should never have been in Whitesnake. He has no empathy whatsoever with the sort of music that they create. And the one time that I saw the band with him, they were terrible.
You talk too much. Never say what's on your mind.
In fact, it was only, I think, when Whitesnake played at Donington in 1990 with Steve Vai that the magic went. Because Vai, brilliant guitar player technically, wouldn't know emotion if it bit his bollocks off.
The truth of the matter is I really, really enjoy playing with Whitesnake and David. He's just been a total gentleman to me. Not only are we bandmates, but we're very close friends. And that's the way it is with everybody in the band. So no, we do not argue, we do not fight, you know, anything. I refuse to go through any of that ever again with anybody. If it was at all like that, then I couldn't make myself a part of the situation. But it's not. You know, I mean, I get along great with everybody. People always asking me, what about Adrian Vandenberg? You know, not only do I think he's a fantastic guitar player, but he's also a very good friend of mine, too. You know, I refuse to put myself in any type of situation where there's any feelings of, you know, weirdness or anything, because I don't need that.
I interviewed David around the time of the album coming out. He was saying that Steve Vai has woven the finest tapestries since Axis Boulder's Love. Utter rubbish. What Hendrix did on Axis Boulder's Love is mind-blowing. What Steve Vai did on Slip of the Tongue was just rubbish. Shit.
Technically, Steve Vai is a brilliant guitar player. And he's a lovely bloke. He's a very nice guy to interview. But he should never have joined Whitesnake.
Have you ever asked him about Whitesnake?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
Not really. It's just something to do.
And with Whitesnake, you got to understand how cool it is to be in a rock band like that and to travel. I love that. I wouldn't give that up for anything. I do not regret 1 minute that I joined Whitesnake.
The trouble is, I don't think David Coverdale saw Steve Vai as anything other than a short-term partner, as it were, in crime. And I don't think Steve Vai saw it as anything else other than a quick way of making a lot of money and helping to promote his solo career.
Slip of the Tongue's toss. There's a song called Spit It Out and Slide It In. I think they should have called Slip of the Tongue Throw It Up. I think I speak for a lot more people when I tell you it's utter cock.
So I can say it to you, babe, I'll be a fool for your loving no more. A fool for your loving no more. I'm so tired of trying, I always end up crying. Fool for your loving no more.
What sums it up perfectly is the re-recording of Fall for Your Loving, which appeared on the album, and you compare that to the original, and again, its production's great, playing's brilliant, but it doesn't have the same depth of the original. What's lacking on Slip of the Tongue to me is real depth, real emotion, and it could have been there.
This is the problem with these albums, and with a lot of the material that Whitesnake were doing at the time, is it was perfect for MTV. They looked the part, but there was definitely a weakness in the songwriting department that hadn't been there when you had guys like Bernie Marsden and Mickey Moody in the band.
And I think it speaks volumes that they had to re-record old Whitesnake songs. You know, why couldn't they write decent new ones? Well, they couldn't. I mean, I don't know why, apart from, I mean, I'm hazarding a guess it's because they were all crap. But, you know, what does that say to you about Whitesnake at that particular moment in time? It says they were shit.
I think this is one of the best bands ever, regardless of whether it's Whitesnake, just the actual personnel. Vandenberg Vai on guitars is a frightening concept and always has been, and even more frightening when you watch and hear them live. Sarzo was born to be a rock star, and Aldridge is just the most thunderous octopus on drums I've ever known. It's a treat. It really is a musical treat.
No, David was very full of himself about Slip of the Tongue. I'd heard the album and I thought it was awful, but his confidence was not to be shaken. And obviously until it went to about number 30 with an anchor on the US charts, and then they realised that they were in the shit.
Whitesnake had a big album, not a big career. There was no longevity, particularly at that level, in what they were doing. And to retain that level, they had to sell 6-7 million copies of the next album. Didn't come close.
Whitesnake's success certainly overrides their failures. Like the failures are that compared to a success like that.
Whitesnake have taken a lot of heavy criticism over the years, but that's mainly been from musical snobs and from the press, not from the punters that go to see them.
When the band was at its peak, artistically, it wasn't an image-led band, quite clearly, because you had people like Mickey Moody, and you had, you know, beer bellies and bad facial hair. You know, this is a disaster. It never would have made it in the lean, mean 80s.
But the fact of the matter is, they sold a lot of records and they had a huge following. And again, for anybody who did see them live, particularly in the early part of the 1980s, they were also a lot of fun. And I think that's something that's worth remembering.
At some point, Whitesnake have made an album that appeals to you. And that's the important thing. They tried different things, they changed, some worked, some different. Ultimately, I think David Coverdale can look back at Whitesnake and say, you know what, I've achieved a lot with this. I've made myself into a household name, and I've done it pretty much on my terms.
I've been very lucky to be involved in Whitesnake, and it's, you know, I'm very proud of a lot of things that I did with it. It was certainly a special period, and you don't realise it at the time. You just take it for granted that that's how it is, and you're having a good time, and it's going to go on forever, and it didn't.
Ain't no love, she went around. She went around. 'Cause you